It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome to episode 13 of Sunday Streams with Trademate Sports, where we answer your betting questions, discuss both new and old betting strategies, how to best use the Trademate Sports software, and welcome on guests from around the betting industry. Now, I promised last week, or maybe I didn't promise, but I said that we'd have pro sports bettor Anthony Kaminskas come on today, but unfortunately... Well, not unfortunately. We're just going to do it next weekend instead. So next Sunday. So, I did schedule an event that said he was going to join, but bit of a false alarm. So that'll be next week. But today, I thought it was probably about time to do some, just go through some stuff with, I did obviously talked a lot about Trademate Sports last week, but I think this could be really good for some of you to listen in and be able to take your Trademate Sports software game, I guess, to the next level. I probably haven't said enough on this topic in recent months with all the Euros and all that kind of stuff going on. But I thought now is probably a good time to just highlight a few things that I think could to help you guys out, and I think you guys that are already on the stream are the smart ones for coming along. So I think anyone that misses this and is using Trademate every day, maybe they're aware of some of these things already, but I think they are probably missing out big time. But anyway, I guess everyone can catch up in their own time. So, basically just going to go through today some of the things that I've picked up on the last however many months using Trademate that I think, I'm not saying this is going to completely change, your profit and loss with Trademate, but I certainly think that it will improve and it'll plug maybe a few leaks that you might have in your game, or at least it's going to plug some leaks that I've had in my game the last couple of months. So I'm excited to share with you all. First of all, disclaimer on the video and all the videos on our channel, really. I or no one else on this channel is a financial advisor. This is just educational content aimed at improving your knowledge about sports betting. There is a risk of losing money when betting, and what choices you make with your money is up to you. So please be responsible. And guys, let me know if this is a good time for you. It's an hour later for me. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, which is a bit of a difference for me. I feel a lot more alive. So if it's not a big problem for you, I think this might be a good starting point from now on. All right. Shane, how are you, mate? Good to have you back on board. He says, evening, Alex. Hope you're well. I will enjoy as a listening exercise as I don't utilize Trademate right now. I'm taking a general break right now. It tends to happen after a poor run of results. Yeah, mate, I think I just timed this. So, all the football, or a lot of the football started up already. But the UK, all the UK leagues basically start next weekend, except for the Premier League. Along with I think Ligue 1 starts next weekend. Then you've got La Liga, Premier League. What's the other one? The Bundesliga. Yeah, they're all starting up. So I think this is a good time to go through it. God bless you too, mate. All right. So first thing I was going to say was, on the subject of all the leagues coming back, we've just started running some discounts for Trademate Sports. So I think this is a bloody good time to get on board with Trademate, especially some of those the prices on the quarterly packages. So I believe you can get sorry, I did all these discounts last week, but I think you can get 99 euros for a month of Trademate Core, and and don't quote me on this, it could be €270 for 3 months. So quarterly package of Trademate Core. I think that's the discounts we're running at the moment. And if you guys go and sign up for that, or at least go and just, if you check your emails, if you signed up to Trademate, you'll see all the discounts there. But yeah, go and contact our customer support. If you tell them you want the discount tonight, then you'll be able to get a free month of the analytics package too, which could help after everything I'm going to say today. So, all right, all the boring stuff is out of the way, but I would highly recommend, if you're thinking of using Trademate, get yourself a nice little discount to start off with. Those two that I mentioned will, lighten the load a little bit. All right, first thing I'm going to talk about today is checking odds movement chart. Maybe I'll make this sound a little bit better. Checking the odds movement chart. Now, what do I mean by that? So every time you have the option, at least. Let me just get this up on my screen. Sorry. Okay. So this is the first tip to help you guys improve your game. So every time you place or at least get a trade alert, so this is the trade feed here, you will get the option to view a chart. And I'm wondering, here it is. So you can either have this view here, where it just shows you, odds, stake, edge, what the bet is, etc. Or you can show odds movement. Now, I would highly recommend to show this odds movement, because I think this could be this is quite a big way for us to improve our game here. Why? Because you can tell a lot by the movement of a line. So let's just take this one, for example. So you've got your benchmark here. So this is the sharp bookies, and this is the bookmaker you want to place the bet with. All right, let's just go to my examples. It's probably going to be easier. So here's an example of a line. Yeah, you guys can see that pretty well, I think. So this was 10 hours before the game was about to start. Huge edge. This is going to be a max bet kind of situation. But let's have a look at this one. So let's just call it Bet365. It was Unibet in this case. Unibet, they're at 233, but the sharp bookmakers are true odds are down at 205, maybe a little bit less than that. But just looking at this line, it's barely been open for, I couldn't tell you exactly how long it's been open for, but maybe a couple of hours at best. And it hasn't really moved at all. It's had a little bit of movement here, not much, but it hasn't really moved at all. So we're looking at a situation here where the market's kind of just opened. So it's not like the sharp bookies have opened up at 230 or something like that, and then they've been crunched into 205. This is a situation where the sharp bookies have just opened up at 205, and Unibet have had this line out for a long time at 233. Now, there is no way in the world that I'm saying that, odds compiling wise, we should be favoring the opening lines of Unibet over Pinnacle. And I'm not really saying the opposite either. I'm just saying, like, this line that's been created by, let's just call it Pinnacle. This line that's been created by Pinnacle is not exactly the true odds of the game yet, because no one's had a chance to even bet the bloody thing. It's been at the line at Pinnacle's been out for a couple of hours. Let's just say 3 or 4 hours, and there's still 10 hours until game time. So would you be confident in this situation for all of you? This is going to be, according to Kelly Criterion, this will be a situation where you're going to be betting your max bet, most likely. So do you want to max bet something that that no one's really touched yet? You're kind of just going off the difference in odds compilers. Yeah, you might back the Pinnacle odds compiler compared to the Unibet odds compiler. I've got no idea. I mean, I don't know the the skill level of each of them. I've got no idea at all, because Pinnacle just rely on the market to create their odds to beat them into shape. So for me, this is a situation where if you have this odds chart up, you see, it's only really just opened, and we're kind of just going off his version of the story versus his version of the story. Should I bet that? Should I max bet that? Maybe I should only have a small stake on that. I don't know. This is just yeah. Sorry, Shane. Yeah, we'll call it Pinnacle for this one. We'll just call it Pinnacle for all of them. So yeah, that's my example one of like the positives, the pros, I guess, of having this odds line up, because maybe you're not going to look at this and think, oh well, maybe it's not a max bet situation. Maybe for me it's a no bet situation. I'd rather see this line in I just want to see some movement on this line. So I want to see people beating it into shape. Here's another example that I got up. So this is the Fiji Brazil women's sevens game, which would have been late last week. Now this is very interesting, because this is another good example of maybe where the chart could lead you astray, and you need to just look into it a bit more. So this is a chart basically over the last probably 15 minutes. So there's been no movement in the last 15 minutes from either bookie, really. 15 minutes, not a long time, but it is a decent amount of time considering the game's going to start in 26 minutes. So this would be another situation where I'd be looking at either staying away from this bet, just because there's been this is kind of his word against her word, that kind of stuff again. Or I think this is a situation where you can actually go and look at the liquidity at somewhere like Pinnacle. So let's have a look at this one too. Another example here. So another huge edge has come up on the Argentina. I assume this is like the biggest league in Argentina. Sorry for any Argentinians I've insulted by not knowing much about your league. But if you look at this, it's been open for a while, this one, actually. I mean, it's even though it's 2 days before the game, you can see there's a little bit of movement here, a little bit of I guess you'd call it toing and froing with the bettors and trying to figure out a good line for draw no bet Santa Fe here. But you kind of get to this point here, and then it's gone from 295 ish all the way down to 245, let's just say. So it's a huge move. It even went down to 240, but then it came back up. So these kind of moves are only possible if there's only small liquidity in the market. And as hopefully you guys have kind of cottoned on by now, I've said it a million times, the less money, the less liquidity in the market, the less information. So let me just check. No, mate, I'm just these are just things that I've just trades that have popped up on my screen. Shane asked, are you using a request filter showing me all edges of 8% or more? No, mate, I think I'm on 2.5%. I'm just trying to use an example here. And this is all soccer from sorry, I can't read your name there. Oh, I can't even see that. Sorry, my eyes are no good. But yeah, I'll keep going. So this is a case where I thought, all right, well, I mean, it's a significant movement here. It's a big edge, obviously. There's a little bit of movement here and there. So it's, and the line's been out for a while. So why don't I just, before I go bet this, why don't I just go check the liquidity? So this is just a screenshot from Sport Market, who are like a brokerage for the sharp bookies. And you'll see here that for me it moved into 248. So for me to go and bet this now, I would only be able to bet 211 euros. So I mean, it's a decent amount, but it's not something you want to hang your hat on 2 days before the game's going to be played. Another good thing about Sport Market is I could also have checked the odds movement here. So for like that for that rugby sevens example, I could have, clicked that and had a look back further at kind of the hours preceding. But yeah, let me just yeah. So yeah, you can see here that this big movement's happened most likely because there's just not much liquidity in the market. So I'm assuming it's just one person has come in here and said, "Oh, the odds are wrong here." I'm smashing them in. Now, that one person could be Tony Bloom. Who knows? Could be the sharpest bettor, one of the sharpest bettors in the world. Or it could just be Joe Bloggs. You don't know. It could just be some punter who's a massive Santa Fe fan who's gone, "Oh, geez, I'll back him at those odds. That looks good to me." We've got no idea. What you want is the old wisdom of the crowd. You want multiple people to be betting this in, and so you can feel confident. So, yes, if this was a Premier League game and I saw this kind of movement, if I saw Arsenal versus Brentford in a couple of weeks, saw Arsenal, let's just say this was Arsenal's odds, drop from 2.9 all the way to 2.48, and you come up here, the liquidities, probably thousands of euros. If I saw that, I'd be like, well, and there's 2 days before the game, I'd be like, well, bloody hell, let's go for it. I'd bet that 100% of the time because it's a big market with lots of opinions already beaten into those odds. So what kind of I guess the question is like, what kind of things do we want to look for in these odds movement charts? And I think this is just something that came up on my screen while I was trying to look for some examples here. So this is a huge move, and I'd be pretty confident saying the liquidity probably wasn't great here. Probably maybe 1,000 or 2,000 euros would be my guess, an ATP event. But you can still see here that the odds on Cameron Norrie here, like the sharp bookmakers, the blue line, you can kind of see that it's been, it's moving all the time. The last day or so, it's been moving. It's not like the perfect graph because you can see it's like it has been quite static at times, but you can see like it's been beaten into shape a little bit, and then all of a sudden, I'm assuming some big syndicates come along and smashed it into here. So this would be something where I'd look at this graph and go, I probably wouldn't even think twice, and I would go and bet this, considering there's 7 minutes before the game starts. Someone's just come in and absolutely, smashed it after it's been, a little bit all over the place to begin with. So yeah, that's an example of, there's plenty of examples too. I could of ones where you don't even really need to worry too much. This is a bit of a weird one again, like there hasn't been too much movement here. So all in all, I guess my biggest takeaway from this is that we need to be, I think it's just if your screen's looking like this at the moment, click this and just be a bit more be a bit more thorough with your analysis and have a look at how you could improve, or just go beyond the just go beyond the old. All right, he wants me to bet Japan minus 10.5. Bet it, done. Like have a little bit more of a look into it, and you might just not be betting some situations which could have hurt you. Like, I mean, this is good here. Like, you can see a lot of these Olympic markets aren't around for too long. Like, it's like similar to ATP and WTA events. Like, there's not much time to bet them. That's why their markets aren't efficient in tennis. So you can see here that the lines have kind of been, not too much movement. And then as you've got closer to game time, boom. Now we're starting to see some real, I guess, opinions being placed on this game. So you're seeing that someone here has gone. No, I would take Nigeria plus 10.5, and then and the market's fought back a bit. So yeah, I hope this. I'll just get some questions here. So Shane says, let me get my glasses. For the Cameron Norrie example, be interesting. That line is reflective of the price chart history on the Betfair exchange, as these prices tend to mimic exchange movements. Yeah, it probably would, mate. It probably would. I think you meant to say, I'm sorry, I'm not sure this is Bernardo, I think. Are you picky about your edges? Well, I guess this is as picky as it gets, mate. So, having a look around and looking at these odds movement, I would say, like, usually I haven't been, but I think this is just something that I have spotted recently, especially with the Olympics and stuff like that, not having too much liquidity. And seeing those lines that I showed before, like that just means nothing to me, really. Like I want to see the wisdom of the crowd. I want to see people fighting over those odds movements to create the right line, and then I'll bet it. If this is a graph like this all the way until 3 hours before kickoff or whatever, if it's like this the whole way, and old Unibet's still doing these ones, that shows me that money's being beaten into that price. So I'm happy to take it. So yes, I guess I wouldn't say I'm picky, but I think this is something that you can definitely do to improve. Hovd says, how sharp are lines on Bet365 versus Penny on tennis? Seem to recall they took decent action many years ago. No, no, like they're just. I mean, I don't know. I don't do studies on this, but I would, 100% back the lines at Pinnacle at being a lot more efficient. Especially, I mean, definitely on tennis. From my experience betting on tennis, they Bet365 they're quite slow, at least in pre-match at producing, or at least moving with the market. Is the moral of the trade, this is from Shane, is the moral of the Trademate story to bet Steam and beat the closing line by betting Steam? I mean, it's essentially what we're doing. I mean, we're not. I don't know about I can't tell you what Steam chasers do, because I don't Steam chase professionally, but Steam chasers are able to. I'm not sure, like if they get on it at sharp bookmakers too, and because I know that they're able to read the market in a way that where they think they know it's going. So, like, I guess we're Steam chasing like soft bookmaker prices that are too slow to change. Definitely. But I'm pretty sure like professional Steam chasers are also doing this at exchanges and sharp bookies too, where they can get a lot more money down. So I have no idea how they do that, how they predict that, let's just say Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal are playing each other and Rafa goes into 180 and they go, oh, well, he's going to go into 170. So let's bet him into 170. That's his true value or whatever. So they keep backing him in. I'm not sure how they, guess they just spend a lot of time looking at markets and they just predict these things are going to happen. I have no idea. So 100%, we're obviously, chasing steam on the soft bookmakers. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's kind of all I really wanted to say on that. Hopefully that gives you guys just opens your eyes a bit more and maybe like when you're just not betting so blindly using Trademate, because I think you can get into the scenario where you bet every edge that comes up. And obviously a lot of these examples I brought up on this screen are from smaller leagues. So it's a kind of a good, maybe not the greatest examples because you shouldn't be betting too many of those because of account limitations and stuff like that. Probably not going to be the case. A lot of these examples in like the Premier League or the Serie A or, any of those big European soccer leagues. But yeah, I mean, if you're, dabbling around at betting games 2 days before or, the Olympic sevens, those kind of examples, then maybe just like I said, just have the odds movement chart up and just have a look. And you don't have to bet everything that comes up. No way. All right, moving on to the second thing I was going to go through today. Is some of the markets you can bet on Trademate. So in particular, quarter and half betting markets. So, betting on who's going to win the first quarter, who's going to win the first half, how many goals are going to be scored in the first half, etc., all those halftime markets and quarter time markets too. So I'll share my screen with you. So there's a bookmaker over here in Australia that produces a ton of edges on halftime goals markets, and it's always like Arsenal versus Brentford, team to be over 0.5 goals in the first half. So they're basically saying there's going to be one or more goals in the first half. So what I've done is, so this is the bookmaker here. It's just like throughout the whole of last season, it was just every weekend there was just a ton of them. So I think when that happens, it's worth digging deeper into your results with them, because why would they keep hanging up these, same kind of edges over and over and over? If they're just plus EV and they're going to keep getting stung, like surely they'd notice on their end that they're getting stung on these kind of markets. So they change it. So I had a little look at how I performed on them. So yeah, that basically explains everything that I've been betting with them. And you'll see here that I haven't done very well. Average ROI of negative 5.1%. And overall, I've lost $3,500 on this market. So this, and yeah, I guess, I think the problem here is that there's a couple of angles you can go with this. I think the first one is, a money line, a 1x2 and over under goals for the whole game. These are huge markets. They've got so much liquidity. So if you bet Arsenal at 2 and the Pinnacle close at 1.8, like that's rest assured value there, sorry, because the market's very efficient at those prices. But how efficient are and a lot of these bets I've noticed were like League One, League Two, Championship. How efficient are those the over 0.5 goals in the first half? How efficient are those markets? I would assume not too efficient because there's just not much liquidity around. Now, you can see here that still got a closing edge of 1.2%, but what's a 1.2% closing edge against something that's not very efficient? And the thing that I was doing with these ones is they were really low odds ranges too. So I'm betting on something that's 1.37, but the true odds are 1.36. So we're talking about the most minuscule amounts of value. And I was actually multiplying these together. So, getting two like 1.3 bets together, multiplying them together, get a little odds boost too. So they're great bets in that sense, because you're getting that odds boost too. But yeah, for me, I think I'm going to stop betting these kind of markets, especially like, on very or least kind of small leagues. Maybe like on a Premier League, I think it's just about checking the liquidity. If there's, 1,000 euros or at least close to it liquidity on these markets, then I think I'd be happy to bet it. But when you're betting on smaller edges, the thing is that you're it doesn't take much for the market to flip on you. So yeah, I think a lot of people would maybe get to this stage and just go, "Oh, it's just variance, mate. Like you've only placed 390 trades." But I think for me, considering the liquidity is probably quite low on these events, I think I'll probably just skip these trades from now on. Just if you think about it this way, like anything that's a half-time market or a quarter market, those events are going to have less liquidity most likely than the full-time markets. So it's less efficient in a way. So another thing to keep an eye on, if you get a trade up for a quarter market or a half-time market, maybe just go check the liquidity at Pinnacle or the overall market liquidity, and think to yourself, like, how efficient do you think that number is? If it's a 15% edge, and the liquidity is 500 euros or something like that, then yeah, I'd probably go bet that. Like, it's a decent amount of liquidity, and also it's a huge edge. But I think these are just all things that you're going to learn over time using the software. And for you guys that have been using the software for a while, I think you might understand some of the things that I'm saying, and it might it'll help you guys out a little bit. So hopefully that helps. And giving you guys this example of how I've failed. I've lost a decent bit of money just by betting on this market. And I kind of wish I never. I mean, I've obviously learned there's one way to learn, but I think this is an example of like a trading situation where I wish I'd never started betting on that market, but you live and you learn. See if there's any questions here. From Shane, how do you check the liquidity at Pinnacle? They don't disclose that information, do they? Well, you need to have an account at Pinnacle. For people in the UK, I don't think you guys get access to Pinnacle, do you? So that's quite tough. One thing you could do is, you could use a brokerage. I use Sport Market to see their liquidity or to bet. Bet in Asia is another brokerage. There's a few brokerages going around, but you could use one of them. I thought so. To check the liquidity, what I would make if I was you, if I'm in the UK and I can't get access to them through anywhere, like through their website or through a brokerage, is and you really want to know the liquidity, I'd get a VPN and make an account with Pinnacle, and I don't know, just make some bullshit details about being in another country, wherever the VPN is. Make an account, and then if you just click on that, I wouldn't bet with them, obviously, because then you get into a situation where you really are acting illegally, and they could take all your money. But just if you're making an account, you can check the liquidity and see what it is. I'm not sure if it gets to the point where then they're just like, maybe you've had an account there for a week or two, and all you're doing is checking the liquidity and you're not betting anything. Maybe they get to the point where they say, can you verify your identity or whatever? Then you're probably screwed, because you don't have any kind of document proving you're from whatever country you've decided to set up the VPN in. But yeah, that's something that you can maybe try. But I think sometimes you don't even need to check the liquidity. Like, if just looking at this kind of example here, like, I can basically tell there's no liquidity there. And I mean, it's the NP, it's like the Queensland Soccer League for women. Like, it's, there's no one betting that. There's not many people betting that. You can tell there's, what's this one? Yeah. You can tell, like, because the movements are so big, that there's probably no liquidity there. And it was kind of backed up when I looked at the liquidity afterwards. So yeah, a lot of it you can probably just tell. Okie dokie. Number 3 that I was going to go through today was, it's kind of similar to everything I've been saying today, except just applying everything to American sports. So I've obviously talked a lot about soccer today, but American sports are a little bit different, because they have a bookmaker called BetCris in America, who are kind of known as being more efficient than Pinnacle when it comes to the big leagues like NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL. So those big 4 events. BetCris are known to be a little bit more efficient, just because they've got bigger limits than Pinnacle in those situations. So for these situations, it's another example of, can you get access to BetCris and check out what the limits are like there? Can you just see what the odds are at BetCris? Probably. It's just another thing you can add to your repertoire, I guess. Like, if maybe you just get a baseball trade come up on Bet365 for a 2% edge. Not a huge edge, but it's still an edge. You see the odds for something are at 1.9 on Pinnacle, but then you go to BetCris and you see the same event, they've got odds of 1.93 or something like that. So they're not exactly on the same page, both bookmakers. And BetCris is maybe a little bit more reliable because it's got bigger liquidity, more people betting into it because there's more liquidity. And yeah, do you want to go and bet it based on Pinnacle's odds, which is, the benchmark that we use? Or would you rather just go and check first and check what BetCris is at too? Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that you guys should definitely be doing for those major leagues. Before, like I said, trade comes up for one of those big leagues, just go and check what the limits at BetCris are, or firstly just check what the odds are at BetCris, see if they're the same. If they're the same, then bet it. If they're different, check the liquidity if you can, see who's offering more liquidity, and go from there. For me, if I was betting. Sorry, I don't follow any American sport. Let's just say the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing the Lakers, and the money line's 1.9 on each side. But then someone bets the Lakers into 1.8. Bet365 have still got them at 1.9. They're 1.8 on Pinnacle. You go to BetCris, they're 1.85. I wouldn't bet that personally, because that's a pretty big difference between BetCris and Pinnacle, and I'd probably rely more on BetCris, as the sharper bookie. Just when it comes to those bigger leagues, like, it's funny on Trademate, we lose to BetCris on those big leagues, but we beat them in like college basketball and college football and obviously soccer and all those other stuff too. So it seems that they're really efficient when it comes to the those bigger leagues, but not so much the other leagues. Got some questions coming here. Connor says the pod with the poacher during the week was brilliant. A 5% ROI approved by SBC is solid. Definitely learned a lot. I see Genting Bet are closing this month. Anyone with cash in there, get out. Yeah, great point. Andreas says the VIG is often a good indicator, Shane. I would not trust Pinnacle if they offer low payouts for that particular line. Yeah. All good points. I don't think there's any more to say about that one. In terms of BetCris and Pinnacle, like I said, just make sure you guys know that I'm talking about BetCris being more efficient for those big American leagues. At least I could be completely wrong, but in our just from our data, we're beating BetCris in everything except for those like big American recommended leagues, I guess we could call them. So yeah, just another thing I think it's just like a double check thing that you can do. So if a trade comes up for American sports on Pinnacle or using Pinnacle as the benchmark, just go and check what BetCris's odds are at. If they're really far apart, maybe leave it alone. Or if BetCris is still up here. Oh, here we go. Keep up the great work. We love you. Thanks, mate. I love you too. All right, last one I wanted to go through today was Bet365 soccer results. Now, this is quite a big one because it's Bet365. So, obviously, Bet365 basically everyone that uses Trademate has access to Bet365, which means that this is going to affect a lot of you. What I'm going to say, let me just check. Sorry. Yes, Shane. The VIG is the over round, the margin, the juice is another way of putting it. Yeah. Okay, so Bet365 soccer results. I will share my screen. So I'm in the big data tool here. And I'm just going to show you guys some of the results for Bet365 on soccer. Let's just keep it at 1x2 for now. Edges for 1.5% and above. Let's just go 8 hours before kickoff. That seems to be the appropriate benchmark, and we'll go recommended leagues. And so this is going to come up with the last 10,000 trades that Trademate users have placed on 1x2 soccer Bet365, 8 hours before kickoff, or 0 to 8 hours before kickoff, with the edge of 1.5% or more, which is kind of what we recommend generally for you guys to bet. Just wait for the old fella to load. Oh. Sorry, this can sometimes when you are simulating, or at least getting data from, thousands and thousands of trades, it can take a while. But here she is. All right. So, not good, as we can see. So let me break this down step by step so we don't get lost. So, the bad results. For me, it could be down to two things. One, we can see here the average odds placed are 3.16, and the true odds in each scenario are 3.08. Now that means that there's going to be some variance involved here. Although, it's a bloody good sample size, there is going to be some variance involved here, because we're not talking about betting 1.5 or 1.3 or 2, where it's where there will be less variance on lower odds ranges. So you could just put it down to the fact that, we're betting a higher odds range, and maybe the market, maybe we just need a few more bets to play out and eliminate the variance. I kind of disagree with that point, but I'm not going to get into an argument with someone over that. The second thing that could be the problem here is that, and it's something that I never really thought of until, you guys that have listened to our betting previews of the during the football seasons with Nigel Seeley, previous odds compiler, and now he's a tipster, and he always talks about how the odds of the draw are always going to be maybe a little bit higher than they should be in some circumstances, and Bet365 are a great example of this. All the time I get trades up with Bet365, saying bet on this draw. And the odds kind of reflect that in this, don't they? Like, it's not like the odds of a draw are, a lot of the time they're at the odds of 3 or 4 or 5. So, we're talking about a lot of draw bets are included in this sample size here. And Nigel basically says that, that the odds, because no one likes to bet the draw, so like, Bet365 users are generally going to be quite recreational. So they're going to be betting on either Arsenal to win or Liverpool to win, Chelsea to win or Manchester City to win. How many bettors out there, how many recreational bettors out there are betting the draw? Sure, there might be quite a few, but I'd almost put my money on the fact that more people are going to be backing the team to win, because that's a way funner thing to be cheering on. So I reckon, like in these cases, that Bet365 kind of hang a line out there. They hang the draw line out there just to try and get a few people on it, so they can kind of balance their book in a way, if you get what I mean. Because if they're taking huge money on either side, for Chelsea to win or Manchester City to win, and they've got no one taking the draw, it kind of leaves their book unbalanced, and they probably want to get to the perfect scenario that no matter what the result in the game, Chelsea win, Manchester City win, or a draw, they want to get to the situation where they're going to make a similar amount of profit or make a sure profit no matter what on either of those outcomes. So I wouldn't argue with someone that was saying that they kind of hang that high draw odds up there to get a few people to snag on, and this could represent some fake value, I guess you could call it, where it still could be value, 100%. It could still be value, but maybe they're hanging the line up there not because they're just too slow at reacting. They're doing it on purpose so that people can actually bet it and they can balance their books a bit more. And like I said, it does not mean that it's not value. It still could be value. But when we're looking at this data here, maybe you can side with that point of view that maybe it's not value. even though we're getting a nice closing edge here of 2.8%. Maybe the draw markets aren't that efficient at Pinnacle, just because not many people go and bet the draw. So what to do in this situation? This is where it gets very, very interesting. All right. So I can pretty much conclude from now on, when it comes to a 1x2 market and Bet365, I'm probably going to stay away from it, because, I can see here that it's clearly, it's too risky, really. It is. Like, you want to be betting this stuff on Trademate with 100% certainty of mind that that in the long term, the more you keep betting this stuff, it's going to work out for you. So let's see, what if we take a higher minimum edge? They call them trap lines in Vegas. Interesting. I assume Shane, you're referring to I guess, like, fake value trap lines. That's a good way of putting it. All right. Now, this is quite interesting. All we've done is we've increased the minimum edge by 1%, so from 1.5 to 2.5, and we're looking at a completely different set of results now. Over 10,000 trades, 2.6% ROI, and we can see here that our ROI is merging towards, or our profits are merging towards, our closing EV. So yeah, they're not too far away from each other. Maybe people will still look at this and think, there was a bloody big down spell here. Like, it stayed below profits for 3/4 of the way and then went back up. But I mean, that's variance when you're betting on these kind of lower odds ranges. But it kind of came right in the end, didn't it? I mean, they nearly touched here. So I guess in summary, we can just say that Bet365, and maybe there are other bookmakers like this. I mean, I don't have access to as many bookmakers as most of you, being in Australia, and the Australian bookmakers, we don't really support too many of them. But from what I see just about every day, there's trades on draws and or 1x2s that come up all the time for Bet365. And it's not like they're gone within a second. Normally the handicaps and the over-unders are gone within a second. But for Bet365, they really hang those draw lines out there for a long time. And I've got sometimes I've got half a day to go and place it. So, yeah, for anyone using Trademate, I would say, 2.5% minimum edge, Bet365. Maybe we can have a play around here and see what if you just do 2%, see what that comes up with. And this is just recommended leagues too, so that's important to note. So maybe, like I said earlier, the analytics package, I think it's such a valuable thing just to have for maybe 1 month and just check all this stuff out. But yeah, if anyone has any comments, questions on any of what I've just said, kind of gone through four different things now that I think can, let's just say you're using Trademate at the moment and you're at a 2% ROI. I don't see there's any reason why this can't take you to a 3% ROI or a 4% ROI. Yeah, so you can see it's kind of all correlated, isn't it? Took it down to 2% and it's dropped down by half. So it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. So yeah, maybe 2.5 is the marker. Why don't we try 3 and see where that gets us? But yeah, as I was just saying, I think anyone that's kind of on now that you've kind of what's the time now in Europe? I think it's 11. Yeah, I think it's 11 o'clock in Europe. So you've got an hour basically to get these discounts. Yeah, so no, this is crazy. I've just gone up to 3% and it's gotten worse. That's bizarre. So I guess if we did a simulation and said bets between 2.5 and 3% on 1x2s, then it's going to be quite high. Could we have a situation here where it's almost saying that the higher the edge, the more they're kind of hanging it out there to get some snags? Why don't we just? It's quite interesting. We can just keep going all day. So I got a question here, I think. Try and take a max odds of 3. Yeah, I mean, geez, we could really play around with this. Yeah, I mean, not the greatest ROI here, and this is what's this minimum of 3.5%. Well, I mean, so I think the ones we want to simulate for are those draw odds, eh? That's what we really want to simulate for, because I think they're the ones that always are occurring. So why don't we say the draw is probably going to be 3 to 4.5, let's say, most of the time. And let's just go an edge of, well, let's start with 1.5. Yeah, Adam, mate, thank you for that. That was a good suggestion. Or you said max odds of 3, but I think that should be the minimum odds because I want to check for these draw markets. Yeah, okay, that's expected. We're still in a bloody big sample size here, so that's good. All right, let's go up to 2.5. So what we're doing now is we're essentially simulating for these draw markets at Bet365. All right, not great. And the interesting part here is we're getting a big closing edge, but the ROI is not following over 10%, over 10,000 trades. Why don't we try 3.5? But I mean, these are things that you guys can do by yourself. Most definitely. Okay, here we go. So this is looking a bit more promising now. So what are we at? We're at 3.5% minimum edge, 8 hours before the game. So maybe this is the sweet spot where this is the minimum odds you want to be taking. And if you look here, there's never really been an instance where it's dropped below that profit line. So, yeah. Shane has asked a question here, and just in the meantime, I'll simulate a few more and just see if it generally gets better. This is a general question. Do you consider beating the closing line if you back a team at higher odds in play? Or do you say, no, it's a different market? Yeah, it's a completely different market, mate. Yeah. So let's just say, yeah, you backed Arsenal to beat Liverpool at 2.0 and Pinnacle closed at 1.8. That's value. But then maybe you're saying, wait 5 minutes into the match, then back Arsenal at 2.1 or whatever. Yeah, I assume that's kind of what you're saying. So, or at least you're just saying if you wait until in play. I mean, once we go in play, it's a completely different market. All right, interesting. Again, it's now we're kind of talking about now the sample size has gone down a little bit. And we've gone up to 4%. So now we're talking about a smaller sample size, and now we're starting to see a deterioration in the results. Another thing to think about here too, it's almost impossible to find out, but because Bet365 is such a big bookmaker, multiple Trademate users are going to be placing these bets at the same time. So the swings are going to be quite up and down because, this probably here, this is a good swing upwards here. This could be like, this could only be maybe 4 different winning bets or something that, a lot of Trademate users have placed. I mean, that's probably an exaggeration. But yeah, something to keep in mind. We can just keep going up and see what happens. Adam says 1x2 is a hard market, to be honest. Asian handicap is where the edge / money is. Fair point. Well, I mean, one other thing that I can show you guys is that, if we had 1.5%, we can just go 1 to 4. At 365 Asian handicap. It's it's all fine. Tyrus F says, is this the product that Haru has used before? I'm not sure if he's used it. What did he? Oh, I can't remember. I'm not sure if he's used it or he said he came across Jonas's videos and stuff like that, and he said, yeah, I'm doing the exact same stuff. So he's probably used it. I don't know. I don't know if he still uses it or whatever, but I think he kind of just implemented his own kind of strategies now. But yeah. And this is, the results of Asian handicap. So this is a 1.5% closing edge. And you can see here we're absolutely smashing them. So yeah, it just shows that, with the analysis that you guys can do on the analytics tool, how much you can evolve your game. Yep. Great from Andreas there. Cool. Well, yeah, I don't really have too much else to say, but I hope this has given you guys a bit more background on how you guys can use Trademate more efficiently and improve your game, to the longest extent, or just, to just go from, maybe you're at a negative ROI at the moment on a bad run, or maybe you're at 1% ROI, or, etc. Maybe this will help you take your game from, that 1% or 2% and up it to 3 or 4, 5%. Obviously, if you look at the Trademate results over if you look at the Trademate results here over a long point in time, we've got an average 2.53% ROI per trade, which is great. But yeah, maybe these tips take you to a 3.5%. This is just the general community. So, yeah, hopefully. Let's see if there's any more questions come through. Yeah, I think that'll just about do it, guys. Last time I'll mention this, but yeah, if for those who have just tuned in, you can get a Trademate discount at the moment. I think we're running it for another 2 weeks, less than that, maybe 10 days. So you can get €99 for 1 month of core and €89 a month for 3 months. on the Trademate Core Quarterly at the moment. If you want to make best use of those discounts, just because soccer's coming back now, I would, if you're thinking of doing it, I would go and do it right now, because you got an hour basically until and to get the analytics package free for a month too, if you subscribe before the end of tonight, before midnight tonight. So yeah, go and do that, and you will get a free month of analytics. And as you guys might have just seen with all those simulations I was running, can help out your game quite a bit, and you'll learn quite a few things about how you can beat the market. Cool. Next week we'll be back with Anthony, as I mentioned, Pro Sports Better. We're going to go through the UK football markets. Maybe he'll give out a few of his plays that he's done in the futures markets. That'd be superb. But if not, valuable insight. As always with Anthony, answers. He's got some. If you've got any questions, he'll have some awesome answers for you, just for general kind of betting stuff. So, always really interesting to listen to Anthony. So, make sure you tune in. Be at the same time next week. And yeah, I think that just about does us. Please, if you're still watching, like the stream. It means a lot. Try and get this out to as many Trademate users as possible, so we can help everyone get their game to the next level. Subscribe, all the fun stuff. What else can you do? You can comment any questions you guys have got. If you're watching this on replay, or if you're not watching the live stream, you're just watching the replay, please ask any questions and I will get to them afterwards. No worries, Shane. Thank you too, mate. I hope you guys found it interesting, and I will catch you next weekend, next Sunday night, with Anthony on board. Have a good one.